I'm here in the Charlottesville Open in my hotel room with Nick over there, and we just finished round one. I ended up being the 7th seed in the tournament. I thought I was going to be the 10th seed, but then they used the August ratings and not the July ratings, and you know, so it was like not too bad. It was just only like 3.5 hour drive, but we just completed round one, and that game was a doozy. It was an Italian, and I played a Greco gambit, so the early C3 and D4 gambiting a pawn, and it was all pretty much familiar with me. And then he played Queen E7 check, and I know the best move is to go King F1. And I played that in like a couple online games, but it's super tricky for white, but even more tricky for black. And so after I went King F1, he went Queen C5. And I thought for 44 minutes on the best way to proceed. I thought about Queen E2 check, which guards the bishop on C4. And after the knight goes back, I can put my rook on E1. Or I can play Queen E1 check, double attacking his bishop on B4. And so after he drops his knight back, I can take his bishop, and then he takes my bishop with check. And then I can go rook C1, take the pawn on C7, and then he plays D6 and bishop D7, and I couldn't find a follow-up. And then I could have played more quiet moves like rook C1 or bishop B3, but all of them looked dumb and stupid. It didn't feel like it was what the position demanded. So I thought for 44 minutes, which was way too long. It's game of 90 plus 30. So I thought for half my time in a game of 90 game on move 11. And then I ended up playing Queen E2 check and rook E1. And there was not much he could do after that. So he's pinned. If he takes my bishop, I take back with the knight. And I was calculating all sorts of different things here, where if he does take my bishop, and after knight takes D2, I go knight E4, and I have knight D6, and he can't move his knight, he can't move his king. There's all sorts of different knight trickery stuff. And I was really proud with everything I calculated. I truly believe I'm winning no matter what he does if he takes my bishop, and I take back with my knight. And then, but I was also thinking about taking on B4 first and then playing rook E1, because if he castles, I have A3 and B4 winning his bishop. So instead of that, I just played rook E1 first because it could transpose, and he fell for it. So he castled, and then I won a piece for 2 pawns. And then I played a move D6 after he castled, with the idea of potentially sacrificing the bishop on F7 and play. And if he just takes the pawn back, then I can play knight G5. But there was also the idea that Nick said after the game. I was starting to take on F7 with the queen, and it's literally mate in 2, and he actually can't stop it. And I actually purposely didn't play it. Just kidding. No, I actually. Totally a blind spot, which is crazy. I can't believe that.
When I saw it, I thought that was the whole idea, was to sack the queen. Apparently, he's not as willing to sack his queen, but that's probably why he won his game and I lost mine.
No, it was just checkmated too. So I'm actually so baffled by myself. I can't believe I missed that. But the position is so appetizing, it's so delicious that like. Even after all that, like, I was so proud of myself, because then I played G4. I can't believe I missed mate in 2. That's so embarrassing. Victor, my friend, who's a board above me, his live rating is like 2050. He's gonna be like, "Oh, you had mate in 2." It's like, I just know he's gonna say that. I know he saw it, and so the fact that I missed it is so dumb. But I actually cannot believe I missed that. I'm so bad now. But. After that point, it was a beautiful attack. I mean, I played my king's on F1. I don't have that much king safety. So what do? I make my king less safe. I play G4, G5, and then I just attack his king, and it was glorious. I ended up winning the rook and winning the game. So I win the game against someone 400 points lower rated than me, probably in a tougher fashion than it should have been. And apparently I missed a mate in 2. So now I'm not happy, but it's okay. I'll get mate in 2 next time. That was a very interesting game. I played. The position transposed to a queen's gambit declined with an early bishop f4, and then I took on c4. Then he played a4, and then I was trying to hang on to the pawn with knight c6, knight a5. And after the game, he told me he missed his idea that after bishop b4 and knight takes c4, I can play queen d5. And I'm putting a lot of pressure in the opening. After he takes my knight, I take back with the queen. He has to defend. I play knight d5, and then he ends up with an isolated queen's pawn. And there's a moment where he allows me to go bishop takes g2, giving him 2 isolated pawns, and then I could play bishop e4, trade, and then take on c3, and then his king's on e2. I'm castled, and he doesn't have enough time to take on g7 because I could take on d4. So Victor, my friend Victor, after the game, he's national master, but he floats in the mid to high 2000s now because chess is hard. But he told me, he was like, hey, how come you just didn't go for that? And I didn't go for that. I honestly, thinking about like why I didn't go for that, well, when I saw that the d4 pawn was hanging and that he would most likely defend, but I didn't piece together that I was up a pawn. I don't know why I didn't play that, because I was calculating everything else. And there's so many variations where he could take the pawn on a6 because there's tactics. For example, and when I castle and he castles, if I take on c3 twice, so he plays rook takes, I can take the pawn on d4, then he can take the pawn on a6, and then I can take the pawn on g2, and then if he takes my bishop, I take his bishop, then he can double up rooks, then I'm defending passively. So I was calculating very deeply, but I was calculating very deeply about the wrong thing. And I don't know why I didn't go for, why I just didn't play bishop takes g2 after he played bishop c4. I really should have, but I really liked what I saw. Eventually, after calculating for a long time, I really liked what I saw with castles, rook takes d4, and then at first, whichever knight move he does, whether it be knight e2 or knight a2, I was going to go rook d2. But then after he played knight e2, I was like, oh wait, there's even better move, bishop e4. Like this is even a better move. And now he's completely missed that queen b2 attacks g7 with tempo. My rook on d4 is hanging. So after I move my rook, then he attacks g7. And so I was like, oh, shoot, nuggets. I thought if queen b2, then I could go rook d2. And so I should have gone rook d2 first and not threw in bishop e4. Because his queen would have had to go to b1 or c1 or something like that. No, I think b1. And I really like that position. I'm a pawn up, and I have a dominating sense of presence. But in the other variation, I'm a pawn up, and his king is on e2. Oh wait, now I remember why. The reason why I didn't want to go for this, because I'm also a pawn up in the other variation. However, he has a light squared bishop and I don't. So I thought he was going to be strong in the light squares. So anyways, I ended up going for that. I had to retreat my rook to d8. So then if he takes on g7, I can go rook g8 and win the pawn on g2. And then eventually I play like bishop d2. So he wins the pawn on g7, but I win the pawn on f4. And then eventually we get into an endgame where I'm up a pawn and I have the bishop pair, but it gets really tricky, but I'm able to navigate all the complications. And then we get a position where I'm just bishop versus knight, but I'm up a pawn, and I was able to convert that very well. I mean, it was kind of beautiful how I had all those king moves. My king moved from c8 to d7 to e6 to e5 to like d5, the d5 to d4 to d4 to d3 to c2 to b3 to a4. Like it just kept moving. Like I didn't touch any of my pawns. It was kind of a beautiful endgame, and the ending position was very beautiful as well. So, but anyways, I'm 2 out of 2. I'm most likely playing Owen McCoy, a national master. I forget his name. I'm most likely playing him with the black pieces. So I think I'm gonna have double black in this next round. And we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to get another chance to play another national master, and we'll see what happens. I drew a 2300. I was playing Emmanuel Carter. He was not the person I thought I would be playing, but I was playing him for color reasons, because I didn't match up with colors with Owen, so the other National Master. So I played Carter, who is apparently a 7-time I think North Carolina state champion. I don't know if that includes like scholastic titles. That might include scholastic titles. Anyways, and it was a French defense. And the thing is, I found some Title Tuesday games he played in the past on ChessBase, and so I knew actually which variation of the French defense he would be playing. It didn't really help because I already know that opening, and I already, like, nothing really would have changed. However, like, for some reason before the game, I was getting like the jitters, and like I was actually doing like box breathing, because like, you know, like breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, and I was trying to do that on every move, because I was just having like a lot of, like, you know, I was feeling a lot of pressure during this game for some reason. Or because I'm playing someone higher rated, and I'm playing with the white pieces, and I feel like I have a chance to win. And so, but the thing is, I messed up. And instead of playing G4 when I had the chance, I just castled. And then he played H5, and I was like, oh shoot, Nuggets, like that's not good. And so I was in disrepair. I don't know. I was not happy that I messed it up, and suddenly he's like gaining a bunch of space on the queen side, and I make a brash decision. Like after he played H5, I was like, okay, I'll just take on F5. So I took on F5, and then I developed pieces, and then I did something that I don't know the last time I did this. I played knight e3, knowing that he was going to play queen d2. Oh no, knowing that he would play bishop e6, and after bishop e6, I intend c4. Except there is no c-pawn. There's no c-pawn at all. So I just played knight e3, and I was like, oh shoot. Like, now my knight is actually subject to attacks. It's actually going to help his kingside play. And then so I went from like, oh man, I messed up the opening, to, oh man, I hallucinated. And like, I'm so dumb and bad at this game. And so the negative self-talk was really prevalent. And so yeah, that really didn't feel good. And eventually I played this creative move, H4. Kind of breaking open the dark squares, giving myself the F4 outpost for a knight or bishop in the future. And he has a terrible structure. So he had doubled H pawns, doubled F pawns, and isolated D pawn. And oops, I dropped my mic. And one thing to know about the French defense is that usually when white plays the advanced variation, you know, black structure is usually just so solid, and they're hoping for an end game. And in the end game, you know, black structure is solid, and they're not overextended, and they have like more harmonious development. But actually, it's actually reversed. I basically French defense the French defense, because now his structure is bad. And in the end game, he's the one that's got to be worried, because actually my pieces are more passive, but my structure is more sound. So it's actually a really weird situation where the French defense got French defense. So that's cool. And then anyways, so the game kept going and going and going, and I was actually under severe time pressure for a lot of it, but eventually I traded more pieces, and I probably missed some opportunities, and maybe I did. I never felt like I was better during the game at all, but maybe there was a moment where I could have been better. I'm not sure. But at the very end, he blundered. He was just playing too fast, I think. And well, he said he's just like, he did not use the word brain fart, but he just he said he wasn't thinking straight, and he you know, after like king g5, you know, he has to move his rook passively, or give up the pawn, which is what he did in the game, and then he offered a draw, and I accepted. And so now I'm entering round 4 with 2.5 out of 3, and now I am going to Nick and I are going to go to this chess social at a local brewery, so that's going to be fun. Woo! Let's go. Agrippa. That's it. That's the one. That's the one. And it's a Pokeball too. Morning. I played a pretty poor game. I was playing a 2140, and it was a Philidor, and he played Bishop E2 early on, and I was actually hoping that he wouldn't play that variation because I haven't really studied it, and I don't really know anything about it. But I thought I came up with a pretty interesting plan of like knight D7, I in C5, and then like after he went back, knight D E2, I went H5 and knight G4. It was actually really, I thought I was playing really creative chess. And then it's, it's like I was like painting, I was working on a painting, and then I slipped mid-stroke, and suddenly the whole painting's ruined because he set up this idea of like Bishop H4 to play E5, winning in exchange, and I just fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And I fought for a bit, but I mean, I'm just down material, and eventually I resigned. So yeah, I mean, it's just a poor game for me. Some interesting things about this round though is that the hotel lost power at like 8 a.m. So that was interesting. And then so we were about to start the round playing in the dark, but luckily for us, the lights came on like 5 minutes before the round started, maybe 7 minutes before the round started. And it was a pretty cool, it would have been very interesting if we had to play without lights on. Luckily there were windows in the room, so it wouldn't have been that bad. But in general, yeah, that was a pretty poor game. I just gotta shake it off. But at the same time, in the moment, I was like, I deserve this. With all my hallucinations in previous rounds, with all my missed checkmates in 2, like, yeah, of course this happens. Like, I'm just not good. I shouldn't be negative self-talking. I'm not consistent. There you go. That's a more positive spin on it. There's room for improvement on my consistency. If I were to talk more positively. But yeah, I'm pretty disappointed with the result, with how I played on that one move. I was thinking more positionally. Go back to the position. Where I played Bishop E6 instead of Bishop E7 to unpin. Because I thought he was trying to play positionally. I thought he was going to take my knight on F6 and then play knight D5. But it's not like I'm losing if that happens. Like, worst case scenario, he gets the bishop pair. But like, it's not the end of the world. But I thought, and he probably would have taken on F6 or something like that. Then it would have been knights versus bishops. But, I played C5 and I would have had a backwards pawn. So I'm probably slightly worse there. But it's not the end of the world. I just can't believe I blundered the tactic. So, like I said, I'm disappointed. But I just need to play better next time. And hopefully I can get through. It's just so humid down here. I just finished round 5. We just finished round 5.
What up?
And it was, I won. I won. It was a Sicilian, and I had a lead in development. I went for this E5 pawn break, and then I eventually sacrificed the piece, and he eventually gave it back. And then it kept going. The game kept going. I was up 3 pawns, and then I decided to trade in my advantage to go into, so I lost the pawn. I was up 3 pawns. I lost the pawn. And then I had a queen for 2 rooks. So he had 2 rooks. I had a queen. And then I was able to convert it from there. So I don't think it was my cleanest technique. And I don't think I blundered it back to a draw. But honestly, there's a good chance I would have. I think I should have spent more time trying to figure out how to convert better. But it's time for us to go home. So, and I won anyway, so I guess it all's well ends well. How's your tournament, Nick?
It was good. I only got 2 out of 5, but they were all really interesting games, and that's almost as good as winning.
Yeah, like each game was like opposite side castling and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there were 2 positions, like sort of position. Actually, that's not true, because the 4th game that I lost, or the 4th round, I lost that one. It ended in a kingside like push and crazy stuff happening and all sorts of tactics. So Yeah, I guess even whenever I try to play very boring chess, I end up in very tactical positions.
Yeah.
But so I'm happy about that. And I play, honestly, like my ability to calculate. I'm very proud of that, even though I didn't do so well in some spots. It showed me that I can improve a lot more.
Yep.
And that I'm capable of more.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, and I would say this tournament's definitely had the most snacks I've ever seen. They had free chocolate, free gummies, free chips, free coffee, of course, free cookies, spacious playing hall. So, Charlottesville, the Shenandoah Open, 10 out of 10 would go again.
Yes, we're going in. It was very good. Very nice.
Okay, cool.